Welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, Opa! And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly
and
Tyler Hymanson.
And we are here talking My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. No clever titles on this one, just a number. That's all you get. That's all you get.
The biggest thing to happen in 2016.
That's right.
I couldn't remember if there was going to be an actual wedding in this movie, but then once I started watching, I was like, "Oh wait, I remember like the trailers and the premise."
I don't remember anything about this movie.
Oh, okay.
Well, that was, I think 2016 was just
Yeah. Well,
one of the many things you didn't want to get that year.
That's right.
As you might have heard, we've got a special guest with us tonight, coming back for round two, his first sequel on the podcast. Jon Granat is here. He was, if you don't recall, he was here for helping us kick off the Meatballs franchise with the first film.
That's right.
I was like, was he on Meatballs 2 or 3? I can't remember. But
the original. I'm like classics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now you're dipping your toes into the sequel life.
Summer camp is over.
Yeah.
We're heading into the fall wedding season.
Fall wedding season. And there's so many weddings. But before we get too far into things, Eliz, where can people reach out?
You could send us an email at sequelrights@gmail.com or find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and the app formerly known as Twitter at Sequel Rights.
And rate, review us wherever you're listening. Follow us on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and some other ranking system on some other site. Mm-hmm. Whatever you can do helps.
Sweet. Now, before we fully immerse ourselves in the Greekness of number 2, John, you want to talk about your history with the? Have you seen any of the other films? Is it your first time or what?
Yes. So I love the first film, and it's funny from a music licensing standpoint. The first film is sort of like why everyone was always like, "Oh, you got to make sure you negotiate a step deal with an indie film," because it's that's what everyone would point to when I was at Warner Chapel Pat, to be like, "Could be another Big Fat Greek Wedding," right? Like that thing through the roof.
Yeah,
no one expected it. Can't be doing those 2K all in. Got to get those steps.
That's right.
Those steps, son. So the first movie has a place in my heart. I went back and rewatched it before watching the sequel, which I completely didn't realize came out in 2016 and only learned of it a few years ago. And now that I watched part 2, I've been bombarded with ads. The new one. I am. Yeah,
Maybe it's a coincidence.
This guy's our target audience.
It's like this dude loves it.
It's the week before the movie came out, and he watched the sequel. He's gonna go see the third one.
I have a poster of Tula in my bedroom. Right there. It's awkward to admit, but yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I watched this on ad-supported Peacock and just got tons of ads for female deodorant. They're like pure, surely.
It was clearly a lady.
Yeah, clearly a lady is watching.
No one
I
else.
didn't notice the ads. I was having internet problems, so I might have just let them go.
Yeah.
I just let her watch it. Forget the ads. We're going to load
That
them.
sounds like NBC's business model.
Yeah.
We're just happy to have the stream.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2.
A long time ago, I had a big fat Greek wedding. Now my daughter is all grown up. Hope you applied to some local colleges too.
Why do parents always say dream big when they really mean not too big?
Ian and I are just trying to find a minute to ourselves.
How about another date tonight?
And afterward, satin, slippery like an eel. Mia! You're welcome. Shave everything.
You look pretty.
What are you doing?
Dad! And my family is still too close.
Parents deserve a sex life, too.
You know what? Do they? I gotta say, my first thing, I was just thinking about this. I'm bummed there's no Big Fat Greek Wedding Horror Nights maze. Right? It's big Universal.
This one
Pictures.
is a Universal.
I
yeah.
mean, come on.
Yeah. It's just like different scenes of you getting tackled by the family, and like one with Joey Fatone and the other guy being like, "We're gonna murder you!"
Spraying Windex in your face.
In the corner into the next room, and they're all there right at the front. Yeah.
The grandma's always like just popping up everywhere.
Right.
I mean, this one felt a little bit like
the same bit over and over again.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So 2016. This one took a long time, to make it into a sequel, and remarkably, everyone is back. Literally everyone plus others,
Which usually a good thing.
Yeah.
I think it was an okay thing for this.
Sure.
Some of it was a bit of a stretch, but yeah.
It was fine. I would say,
And that's it.
That's it. Here's the tagline for the movie, and maybe it's apt, based on what we're going to talk about. The tagline is, "People change, Greeks don't." But you should maybe say, "Jokes don't."
Yeah.
Oh.
I wrote that down. I was like, all the same gags.
Yeah. That's sort of the thesis of this.
Yeah.
Everything again.
This was my main issue, and probably everyone's main issue with the film, especially watching them so close. Like maybe they felt, I don't know. I'm like, okay, maybe they felt like they could lean into that because it had been so long. But now watching them back to back, I'm like, oh my God, they're literally like repeating all the same beats for like the first at least 30 minutes of the movie.
Constantly.
Some of them are pretty cringy, and like they feel like the the Exhibit meme?
Yeah.
I heard you like this, so we did that little of this. Yeah. But there were some that I did think still worked, as long as I didn't do it too many times. And then there were some that like were really subtle and not remarked upon at all, that I was like, okay, that's cute. Like, so I don't know. I
just didn't like, like the movie starts and it's literally like we have reset back to the beginning of the first film, and they do the exact same thing. But it turns out he's saying you need to get married to her daughter.
Yeah.
Who's like in high school or something. Senior in high school.
Driving? That was my first thought.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question.
And then it shows he's like in physical therapy. He's like super old. He's like super old.
He gets stuck in a tub. Like he can't take a.
Shouldn't she be driving?
Well, she has glasses, so I don't know if people with glasses can drive cars.
You know what?
I don't think.
I mean, depending on, it wasn't snowing or anything, and so sometimes depending on the length of the drive, it's like not worth the fight, and it's better to be like, I can let them have this one and then keep the peace
and a short drive.
Fair.
But John's point, man can't take a bath,
right?
can't drive a car.
I did like the visual gag of him driving slowly from one house to the next, because they now there's a third house that someone lives at.
Nikki,
yeah. Lives at a third house, which I that's the one part in the very beginning that I was like, that's clever. But then otherwise it's a lot of repeating the same beats.
Mm-hmm.
And I
beat
think
for beat.
And I think that's the thing that's interesting about this movie, in that some of that is shot, that opening shot is like, wow, this is far more cinematic than the first film was, which was very sitcom-y, very stilted. But I think that style actually worked better for that movie. Mm-hmm. And because this is more things are happening with the camera, and it's shot more professionally.
Bigger budget for sure.
Bigger budget. That actually makes the comedy and the jokes even staler, and work even less, especially when they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it was just, everything was so much smaller, more intimate about the first film. Like when I rewatched it, it felt like sweet and nice.
Yep.
And it was basically just like her story.
Mm-hmm.
And then I counted through, and I had like 7 storylines running through
Yeah,
this
a
film.
lot of storylines.
Yes.
And some of them never came back. And some of them they popped in at the end, where I was like, wait, where did this gay couple storyline come from?
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
And some of them didn't need to happen.
What about the John Stamos?
John Stamos.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Why
That
is
is
John
the worst
Stamos in
storyline
this?
in this movie. I think he was like, they made a movie about Greek people. I wasn't in it. And so this time I'm not going to let them pass me up. But they wrote him nothing.
But why not have him be more of a character?
Yeah.
I don't
He
know.
should have been Joey Fatone's partner.
Or
the boy's dad.
Yeah. Something should have happened there.
Yes, why? Why don't? Why
Like,
not
that's what I
connect
thought
those
was going to
things?
happen when I saw them both. I was like, okay,
Right.
I recognize both of those actors.
They're going to be.
Yeah.
But then you can have the joke of like, oh, his son is actually 7 or whatever in that whole scene.
That he should have been like, and my other son, who's away. Yeah, so I don't know.
I know you just have John Stamos in there so you can have that horrible joke of her unzipping her.
Oh, that was the worst.
Her vest in front of him, and
there were some serious cringy moments that I feel like I didn't remember them being like. And I watched the first one like the day before,
right?
Yeah. But when I went, like, at the end, towards the end of the movie, when they were in the salon,
and
the women were, like, telling, like, their wedding night stories, and it was super, like, date rape weird.
Yeah.
Like, this,
so much old lady sex talk. Yeah, and it's just like, that was the whole thing where it's like, oh, just faint.
Yes, and she'll just do it, and I was like
yeah, there's lots of weird stuff. There's that whole moment where the mom at the end is like, you know what? Maybe I didn't need to be a mother. And then she's like, no, actually, being a mother was the right thing for me. I don't think I deserved real adventure.
No, that was the adventure.
I know.
I mean, I don't think I try to get away from the idea of being like, oh, old people having sex is inherently gross or whatever. And I think there is something to be said about like kind of these old world arranged marriages and like what they had to deal with is like definitely interesting. But the way that it was dealt with in that scene was like not the best it
wasn't earned. Like, I think that's a very interesting theme to like arrive at and talk about, but it's there. It slides there on a cascade of like gags.
Yeah.
And then it's played for like, it's sandwiched between more cheap jokes. And then it's like a minute of her, like what they put some instrumentation of her, like, I have doubts. And then it's like, but now for more jokes.
Yeah. and you just mentioned the like horrible unzipping the cleavage gag or whatever. Like, to me, like, that's not like character development for that character. Like, we didn't even find out what happened to her at all. No. Like, I don't think they ever say if she even got married or has anything. Like, she's only there to show her boobs in that one joke. And then it is nice that she does the great grandma's hair. Like, that is a cute, like, nice moment. But other than that, like, I don't even know what happened to her. Like, it's all about the other people, and then they just play her.
Well, they do mention in the beginning of the movie, it's like, well, it's like the bad economies like hurt travel agencies and hair salons and dry cleaners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, I guess she was fine.
They all have to work at the.
There were so many characters that were like that, though, where I feel like were just ignored, both in the first and in the sequel. Like the sister. One line at the beginning of the film when they get in the car, she doesn't speak again, I don't think, until the very end of the film. That's her sister.
Yeah.
Like, and she doesn't speak at all in the first movie. She's got like 2 lines in the first movie.
Right.
Her whole thing was like, she already has a family, so she's too busy.
Yeah, and she still is, because they said,
And when she wouldn't she have 2 like adult sons at this
would,
point?
Yeah. We don't know where they're at, but oh boy.
I don't know.
But yeah, I think the one thing that like I was really like, this is too many times to be hitting this on the head was like Andrea Martin and Aunt Vula's like just revealing personal things to people or whatever. Gag, that was one that I was like, we gotta stop with this, you know? Because like, everybody loves that one from the first movie. She should have done it only one time in this movie, not like 3 or 4 times. Plus then all this like, I think it was more interesting when she was like trying to help their marriage and trying to do the other help with the wedding and help her sister-in-law or sister. It's unclear to me which one she's related to, the mom or the dad. But anyway, that stuff was all more interesting. But yeah, the telling people things about medical ailments or whatever, I was like, it should have only happened one time.
It's a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat.
Yes.
Yeah, they went back to the well too many.
I did like, I know I made that joke about like all the old people sex talk, but I did think one of the funniest parts was her talking about how her husband wants her to dress up like a wizard. And then,
or French maid or what stupid shit she was saying.
Speaking of funny parts of the movie, I did like the montage of them trying to help the father use Ancestry.com.
Where he kept hitting like delete over and over.
Yeah, I thought that was genuinely funny, and I did not need that storyline to come back at the end for no reason. I would have been fine. Of all the storylines that die in the vine, that would have been fine because that gag was great.
Yeah.
That gag in the other scene I really enjoyed was the cop car like dash to the wedding. It just because it felt sort of like pure and simple, kind of like the first. It was just kind of a sweet, like, uncomplicated.
It's a John Hughes type, like, Chicago thing. Yeah, like...
Though, like, why is that guy a cop now?
No, no,
he was a high school teacher. And then he decided to marry her cousin from the wedding and become a cop instead.
Yeah.
I thought he was a security guard at the beginning of the film when he showed up.
I did
and
too.
I was like, oh, he became a school security guard?
I thought he was just doing, like, maybe the teachers were taking turns on security guard duty or something.
Oh,
but no,
right.
it's like he's a police officer now? I don't know.
It felt like I would love to. Well, I wouldn't really love to see the extended version, but like it does feel like there has to be so much that was like left on the editing, like all of these crazy storylines where it was like, were we introduced about the gay couple earlier? Like, did they talk? Did they like tease his long lost brother before? Because it like that just like pops up and you're just like,
they did, but barely.
Like,
yeah,
comment,
right. One comment.
Yeah. You know, I think the only time that I actually laughed out loud was, you know, there's this whole sequence where the dad gets stuck in the tub. Tyler mentioned, and everyone's out on the lawn like washing the ambulance and whatever, and we've got these like, you know, the evil white lady neighbors,
right?
And I thought it was funny that the one lady was like, "Oh dear, the poor old grandma finally passed," and then you like the camera like pulls back and you see she's standing next to her, and then she's like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
That was the only time I was like, okay, that was kind of funny.
Right. No, I mean, there were things here and there, and I think there were some of the emotional arcs that did work at the end, and I was like, oh, you know, like whenever it came about, but like you talked about the gay couple thing, it is not earned, but I did like the reactions of his family. Sure. I thought it was pretty nice how they reacted.
Is it your partner or your partner?
And still coded, like, and still like them, you know, they're not saying fully, but like, like is he Greek? Like, no, but that's fine. Like,
an example of a joke that they brought back that I did like and think was well done is that in the restaurant, like, just in one of the passing scenes where she's standing there, it shows that they sell like bundt cakes with little flowers on it, but nobody talks about it. Like, it's just there. And I was like,
really
hey, that's like a cute, funny nod, you know? Like,
I think that's something that I will say about the movie is that, you know, I think that she's funny, and I think that she has a lot of, like, she can write good gags and there's good scenes and things like that. It just seems like that this was, I don't know, probably a little bit underbaked as a script, and then like some of the execution, some of the acting is so like straightforwardly bad in a, like, it feels like that they did like the first take and they were like, okay, it was like the George Lucas school of directing where it was, and I was like, no, that's good. Like, you sure don't want me to like do it again? Like, I feel like, no, moving on. Like, that's good.
Well, I don't know. I know there was like a gag reel that had like all these different takes of jokes and things. So I don't know if they did that, you know, just for specific lines or what, but
I just think it needed editing in the script stage, you know, and just be like, some of these characters, like, yes, we could still see them, but we got to lose their storylines.
Well,
like,
and I think that
she had more time to work on it,
right?
Well, I think that the thing that everyone loves about the first one is that it's her story, and like she wrote it, and like that is the subtext of why it was so popular, and there's something to be said that she's a side character, supporting character in this. Right. And I think that is the role of most women feel in this family dynamic of having a teenage kid and everything else. And I think that there's some truth to that, and I think that if that was her writing her story in that way, and that's why it has this. But I also think that that's not really addressed in that way. And so it kind of, there is an honesty to it, but it also takes out the thing that everyone loved about the first movie, and that it was about her and it was her story.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the reasons, you know, there were again some special features on the Blu-ray or whatever that I watched. And I think one of the reasons that it did take so long is because, you know, they ended the last movie with her and her husband, and they have a daughter. But in real life, at that point, she didn't have any children or anything.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but within, you know, the time from the first one and the second one, her and her husband at the time did adopt a child.
Yeah.
And so eventually she was like, okay, now I can start telling the story. But it took a long time for it to get to the point where it's like, felt probably as personal as you're talking about. But then maybe it was rushed or who knows what,
She had to wait till she had a sulky teenager.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
And I don't even know if, like, of course, as a writer, you can write whatever you want. You know, you don't have to exactly have lived it. But to me, like, kind of what she was dealing with her family and like her parents getting older and like all that stuff, that to me sort of rang more true than like this thing about the daughter going to college or whatever, but I don't know.
That actually led to my favorite part of the movie where John Corbett is talking about how his family, like, he's trying to stop her, is be like, hey, like, you get pulled in by this. And she's like, no, like, your family does this too. Maybe you're just not listening. And then there's that really nice scene with him and his dad while they're doing a thing. And he's like, hey, like, do you need anything? And he's like, why? And then he's like, but if you do, call me.
Right.
And like, I thought that was really sweet. And I thought that was a very good message I thought that worked well.
Yeah, I was shocked they were even there when they had the emergency family meeting. His parents came in the middle of the night. So I was like, wow, that's...
Well, you got to call back to everything. So.
Yeah.
Even the spinning.
Yeah.
But like what Tyler is saying, like that was what I really ended up enjoying about the movie in the end, was that, you know, past all the setup and all these callbacks and stuff, once you finally get into which we haven't even talked about what the wedding is that's going on, but once you finally get further into the planning of the wedding, I feel like that the movie has lots of like insightful and sweet things to say about like marriage and like, you know, getting older and then parenting and all this stuff. And I feel like it's those more emotional moments where it shines a little bit, but it is bogged down by just like too much other stuff to make it like really good. But those were the things that I was like grabbing onto, like, oh, this sweet moment when like Gus talks about like how he can't sleep without hearing his wife snore, and like he's just like, I really miss her, and all that, like those kind of things where I really like those moments as well.
Yeah, I feel like she just tried to like tell too many stories when it was like when she was just telling hers. And so in this one, almost if she had just focused more so like on her parents and them getting like, and that was just the main thing, I think it might have worked better, because regardless, you still had those elements of just like family and that like family love and togetherness that you wanted to hold on to, but it felt like there were just all these little parts she was trying to like touch on with everything, and then just like hammering you with these gags.
Yes. Yeah. That being said, that did have my favorite joke in the whole movie, is when it was actually dealing with like, you know, you as your parents get older, like you depend on more. My daughter needed me less and they need me more, so I'm doing all these things, and it's the physical therapy, and she eats the peanuts out of the bowl.
Oh, God, that was so sick.
And the receptionist is like, yeah, the old guys suck all the chocolate off the peanuts.
And the way she says it is like, hey, the old guys suck all the chocolate.
So why would you leave it there then? God.
I know.
Crazy.
Oh, man. Well, we're kind of like, I don't think we've fully talked about it yet, but we're like screwing around. The big mystery at the end of last week's episode is, it's My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. Whose wedding is it going to be? And it takes a full like 20 minutes into the movie before you're like, oh, I see what's happening.
It's going to be a contrivance.
So, yeah, it turns out that her parents haven't been officially married because, you know, the priest didn't sign the wedding certificate. And I was like, I was unclear, like, if he knew that already or was just discovering it in that moment.
It seemed like he was just discovering it.
No, he discovered it because he was going through the genealogy stuff.
Right, okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Scrapbook.
Yeah.
Like he knew it this whole time and was just finally bringing it up for this movie. But yeah, so the whole thing is that they need to get remarried, and that's the wedding.
That's the wedding.
That's the titular wedding.
Well, and they did sort of use it to tell this character's story, because yes, they were like, we could just go right now, and the new priest is down to sign it if we just go right. And it's just like, it's more about the mom being like, wait a minute, like you treat me like crap, like I'm not. Why should I go along with this? And
I think, their dynamic, like that whole sequence when like John Stamos shows up to the restaurant and she's just like in the middle of an argument with him in front of. I thought that was pretty funny too. I mean, I liked her just being like, I'm not going to get you the menus. Like, no freaking way. Like, I'm done.
Yeah. And I mean, because the reason that's interesting is because it does deal with like a real issue of like these immigrants. And now you're growing, you're seeing your kids grow up and have a modern American life. And you're like, wait, like maybe I can have that. And then there's this weird thing that happens. You're like, I don't know, maybe I could do this. Maybe I don't need to stay with you, and thinking about it. And then, you know, deciding obviously eventually that that's not the right decision for her, but you know.
Yeah.
At least he appreciates her more now, I think.
Yeah.
It was funny that his proposal was like, "I'm going to America. You coming?"
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Yeah, that's pretty good." But
Is that what you said?
no, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Is that your proposal?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I go back in a couple days. So you want to come?
Romantic in your own way.
Yeah, so cute. It's so cute. Oh God.
But then I liked it because they reframed that at the very end, though, when they were like, you were the only one who was brave enough to go. They kind of like turned it around and like showed you sort of the other side, like where his head was at.
Yeah.
I thought that was sweet.
It's like, but then it goes back to so much of the sameness. Like the idea that she's back working at the restaurant is kind of crazy to me. The idea that it just, so many callbacks.
Yeah. I would say I didn't love that it was literally like a character reset for her.
Yes.
But it's like at the same time, I think like you can look at it like, maybe that's what happens in your life. Like if you get stuck in a rut or something.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, you're like, okay, it could be interesting that she had all this excitement and obviously excitement of having a child. And now she's like stuck back where she was even after all that.
Yeah.
I just feel like the way it's executed with all the callbacks and everything, it's just like, I was trying to think like if there was any other sequels where we were like, it was literally only callbacks. And
it really is like a callback clip show. And normally we're like, we didn't get enough of references to the past, but this is really just like
it's a little
too much, and as a result we lose the things that we like need for some of the like. I would have liked to see more about the relationship that Paris had with her parents.
Yes,
because we only ever see it in the context of the whole Greek family. Like we see some moments where she's like, "Oh, I really don't hate my family. I'm going to step up here. I'm going to help out here, whatever." But we really don't see like what if they have any like home life, the three of them. Like, is it
not at all.
Is it really nothing, or is they must have had good times that forged their family.
Well, and it's not even like that she has like traits of both of them, or like there's a thing. Like I guess it's a little cute when he shows up to pick her up for the prom, and they're both kind of like frazzled in the same way.
Sure,
but, like, there was no earned moment of when she is in the limo for some reason with this kid, their other kid,
right?
The hereditary boy.
Yeah. Oh my God! Right when I was like, "Don't go out with him." No. The beach makes you old. Hereditary. You got to go out with somebody else.
You might get a good meal out of it if we're referencing Pig. But. Yeah, when he's like, "I'm Greek," and she's like, and there's this whole movement where she turns to the window and she's just like this wave of like happy emotion. It's like,
thank God.
It's like, would she care?
Yeah, it seemed. I don't know.
You never get to know her,
right?
Yeah,
like, you just have no idea anything about her because
like the whole part of the whole thing about the first movie is that her mom didn't care.
Yeah.
And the whole like that whole sequence with all the not the proposals, but all the like prom asks out.
Oh my God!
Where like everyone in the school is watching, and I'm just like,
that wasn't earned at all.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on?
We saw one time maybe she was interested in that guy. And
she looked at him one other scene, and then
it was like this weird.
It's just so strange.
The first movie was like ugly duckling makes fish out of water.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. This movie was like 8 different things. It was like, okay, we're going to take 16 candles and Mamma Mia, and we're going to have like Fandango set up for the wedding, and then we're going to throw in like 3 other high school movies in here and shake it up, and then boom.
That whole scene was so like, why was there that other kid that was just going like, oh shit, you guys are dating? Like, I'm going to comment on this entire thing. Who are you going to go with?
That was her friend we saw from the first scene.
For like 2 seconds.
Like, she didn't have any friends. She didn't have any interests. I don't know why she wanted to go to Northwestern or NYU.
Right.
Like, what does she want to study? What is she interested in?
Like, no idea.
Probably journalism, I guess, if it's Northwestern, NYU. But still, like, I only know that like myself. Like,
we have no idea what her interests are.
Yeah,
like they showed us nothing about her. Except that she's just like an angsty.
She just goes like,
wants to get away.
Which is like her. In the first movie, her interest is computers. Like, it is that generic.
Yeah.
Like, we're not asking for anything more than that. And we don't even get that with her. Also, why is she named Paris?
I don't know.
I assume they went there for.
I don't.
Isn't
know.
Paris
a casino in Las Vegas?
Greek, right?
Oh, maybe
Like the guy from Troy.
I don't
Orlando Bloom, right? Yeah.
Give me any word. Paris.
Yeah. Paris is named after
goes
the guy
back.
Paris. No, I don't know. But yeah, it's just a lot and not enough where we needed it, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't know what you guys thought too. I also felt like I don't know if it was a product of the storyline where like they're having some issues or whatever as a couple, but I felt like the chemistry was like not fully there. With,
It was
like
not.
John Corbett
and
not
Nia Vardalos in this one, and I was just like, we were talking. You're saying you don't have any times with the family. I was like, yeah, it doesn't feel like they're fully a couple and a family. Like it just.
Well, it didn't
some of
seem that
was
bad to begin with either. Like the
Yeah.
fact that everyone was like, "Oh, your marriage is on." It's like, was it? It seemed okay.
we don't have enough information in this
Right.
90-minute film.
Yeah, it didn't seem on the rocks. It just seemed like awkward. Like they
Yeah.
just seemed awkward together on screen, and then so maybe just their marriage is awkward because it was just like that was like the vibe I got. I was just like,
Yeah.
In the first one,
It
it
was
was
a
like
little
you
weird.
could tell he was kind of crushing on her, and she was crushing on him. And this one, it was just like, I mean, I guess also like you were saying, they like reset everything. So
Yeah.
they started her
Right.
like, okay, let's give you the same hair and the same glasses that you had in the first. I was like, what?
You're literally gonna break your normal glasses and find the old ones and
Yeah.
put them on.
Well, it's like, and if he's the principal at the school, like it seems like she would probably, I don't know, like become a teacher or like work in the library or like
no, she was too busy helicopter parenting her
Yeah.
daughter.
with the two girls that we saw
Yeah.
from the montage at the
I
beginning
didn't
for
like
some
that
reason.
they had to make it that it was that exact girl from
Yeah,
it's like,
that
oh,
was
come
weird.
on, like,
was weird.
yeah. So I don't know.
The Karens.
The Karens.
Yeah,
Karens
it's
before
caca.
Karens.
Yeah, they called back to everything, you guys, everything.
So how about the music?
John Legend.
Because that John Legend song hit like a giant rock. Like it was
heavy,
just
right?
I thought it was one of the worst music
was
placements I'd ever
Like,
seen.
hey, we got money for John Legend. Let's just do it.
I mean, I get it that song was literally everything at that moment, but I'm like, shouldn't you think ahead to be like, I don't know, do you do that in your work, or you're like, how's this gonna sound in 5 years or whatever?
I looked it up, and I'm pretty sure that we premiered that song. I think we premiered that song maybe on Grey's Anatomy, like in 2000.
Well, that makes sense. That sounds great. Yeah,
But in 2013.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Okay,
mean,
so
like,
then yeah, that's even worse.
So
I was still at BMG when we were working that song, and that would have been 2013, 2014.
okay, then never
Yeah.
mind. It's even worse than I thought.
that's
I
why
thought
I
it
was
was
like-
the same time.
Yeah, that's why I looked it
Super heavy
up.
for especially when they montage into like the prom.
The prom and
wedding,
a
you're
wedding.
like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
Fine.
it's not the same.
But the prom, you're like, good. Well, I mean, the other one was like, I was walk like an Egyptian in 2016 at a high school prom.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like, what?
Yeah, I was watching this.
This is the one high school in Chicago that has never learned of hip hop. Like,
Yeah,
I don't understand what's happening.
The John Legend was just so heavy for that scene, and
Yeah.
it makes sense, I guess, for the wedding and then the kind of fake little revow thing that they were doing back there. But for the
Yeah,
prom,
there was a surprise secret double wedding.
yeah,
Double wedding.
for the prom, it was just bad. I mean, like real bad. I don't know.
I was watching this with
with you.
with my wife Gloria, and she was like, "Why is the prom and the wedding on the same day?"
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get that they don't have any plans. You know, they don't have any control over when the prom is,
Right.
Although maybe because he's the
He
principal,
is the principal.
he could have moved it. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like,
Also,
why
why
do they
is your
have the
prom
wedding
during the
same day?
day? Like,
Right.
I don't know. I do they do that ever? They're always at night. in
Well,
my-
it's like, and the daughter, like, I had totally missed that they were on the same day. So the daughter shows up coming down the stairs in that dress, and I was like, "You can't wear white to a wedding." And then I was like, "Oh wait, that's right. She's going to prom."
Still, it didn't.
Yeah, it was-
even white to the prom is bold.
Yeah.
You know,
It
it's
was-
choice.
Yeah, it was the thing.
I thought they were gonna when they teased that it was the same day. I thought they were gonna put in some sort of plot thing where like she has to make a decision of like whether or
Sure.
not she's gonna like go to the prom or go, and then
seems like that's
gonna
something-
be like, no, you should be with your family.
Family.
you know?
Yeah.
That seems
Instead,
like
it just
that's
all worked out.
That seems like that's all at the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Another music thing, and I don't know if anyone watched through the end of the credits.
Yes,
There's another like extremely sappy, cheesy song that is by Rita Wilson.
Yeah, I was listening to it and I was
no.
like, is this Nia Vardalos singing? I was like listening.
It's got to be someone.
It's got to be someone from the movie, and then it was a Rita Wilson song.
Which I know she does have her music career, but it was very
pretty rough,
syrupy.
Yeah, pretty
rough.
Yeah. I did like when the daughter shows up with her date from the prom at the wedding. That like all the little like
yes, that was
gets
cute.
tackled right away.
Yeah, they jump on her and they're like, "I'm gonna kill you." He's like, I'm gonna kill you. Like they're doing the same thing that the adults did. I thought that was a cute way to do a callback. That's different, maybe. But
I did think it was funny that they're contrasting it like that. You know, she's like loves her family, but she's a little bit conflicted, Paris. But then there's like these little boys who are not quite teens yet, and all of them are like obsessed with being Greek and getting validation from their grandpa, and like they're doing the Greek word thing, and they're doing
shots of Gatorade.
They're learning from their dad and their uncle to tackle the boyfriend, and I thought that was funny because those are just like one-off kind of gag characters, especially because they're little boys. They don't need like development and background, like some of these older characters we did need more. But
I think the callback that made me want to die inside or killed part of my soul.
I think the part of this movie that made me think about suicide
was when the daughter was like, I'm gonna apply to like NYU or whatever,
Alabama,
and all
Texas.
these places, and then Tula goes,
"Why do you want to leave?
Why do you want to leave me?" And I was like, oh. It was like not. Because I thought that part was funny in the first movie, and here I was like, oh, the delivery not.
The delivery was bad, even though Nia Vardalos is good. That line was
delivery
bad.
Not good, and I was like cringed away into oblivion.
But I think they're trying to establish that like that's her role in the family because she does the same thing later. Where she says like,
she goes,
"Oh, you got to get married. You're looking old." Yeah, and everyone's like, "No, it's not."
You got to like stop it.
Yeah,
stop repeating lines from the first movie.
Yeah.
What else? We get to the. I mean, not that we want to skip to the end, but I mean, you guys, this movie has more endings than the fucking
Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's the end. It fades to black, and then it's like, just kidding, there's more. And then there's just kidding, there's a dorm room scene. Like, I was like, what is happening here?
I love the dorm room scene. Just was so funny to me, in that it's like giant establishing shot of Central Park, and then like clear like poster out the window of New York City.
Yeah.
You're like, no, we're just in a room.
It was a lot. I did like he gave her a Windex with a little bow on it. That was cute, but yeah. I don't know. I mean, how about you guys watch Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
How about freaking Don Hector Salamanca being his brother? I know he's probably a very nice guy, and he recently passed away in real life. But he strikes fear into me. When he got out of the cab, I was like, oh no,
my God.
Yeah. This is about to take a turn.
There's a reason he doesn't want his brother here.
Yeah. And he comes out of that car like with a clear attitude.
Yeah,
right.
Shit's about to go down. And then they're like, "Oh, we're resolved in 2 seconds."
Yeah, every conflict was resolved almost immediately.
Yeah.
Every conflict was contrived and was resolved by fiat.
Yeah.
I thought the brother thing was gonna like take a minute where like they were gonna be mad, and then like at the wedding something would happen. Instead, it was just like, well, let's just have a drink and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
It was funny that those guys were all drunk at the wedding.
It was.
I was like, this is horribly rude when she gets up to him and he's just laughing. I was like, oh,
so rude.
God.
I mean, who wouldn't walk away from that?
Yes. I was
That
like,
was very
fuck.
fair.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, absolutely.
And then their mom slaps the crap out of him, and then they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did like the line where I think it was Joey Fatone when they introduced the great grandma's makeover. He was like, I didn't even know she had hair because she's always wearing the said scarf.
Yeah. She speaks like one line in this movie, too.
Yeah. I did like that because you got to know, like, if she's already been here 18 years, like, or longer, because she came when Tula and them were, like, late teenagers. So, it's like, she speaks English for sure, and she just isn't saying it on purpose or whatever.
There was one part, there was a callback of, like, no one knows where she is, where she's underneath the table, like, introducing her, and she has Spanakopes underneath there. It's like, what Looney Tune shit is happening right now?
It was.
And then everyone comes and, like, grabs grabs a bunch of it, and it's like, what?
The whole high school scene was so over the top.
Yeah.
I was like, that's when I was watching and I was like, oh, this is going to be a terrible movie.
And Rob Riggle was there.
And you're just like, well, we'll see you in
Rob Riggle was there and made no jokes. No jokes,
Yeah,
just
playing it
completely straight Northwestern admissions officer.
There were a bunch of the gag reel of him like goofing around.
Okay,
But-
well, yeah, I hope so.
They should have let that happen some more.
Yeah, if you're going to go over the top with the other shit, like, let him be him.
Yeah.
I did like the one other thing I liked with the grandma was when they're all talking about like, that the mom was so terrible planning the wedding that the wedding planner fired her, and then all the family is in the room and they're like talking about how we're gonna afford this, and they're all like, well, usually the parents pay for it, and the entire family turns and looks to the like grandma who's sitting in the center, and I thought that was like well staged, and then she like pretends to be asleep, but
Yeah, that was funny because obviously this lady doesn't have any money.
Yeah,
like,
she was like-
she's been living with them for however long, 20 plus years. So
that was funny. I don't know.
same actress too. So hasn't aged a day barely somehow.
And they just got her doing goofy shit the entire movie. Like,
Yeah.
running around in dresses, basically.
Yeah.
In the middle of the street and stuff. Oh, boy. Well, what else? Is there anything else you guys want to mention? Or do you want to, like, wrap it up already? Or what?
What were some of your other notes?
I mean, for me, the biggest thing I think was just all of those. I mean, we kind of covered already. It was just all of the crazy storylines.
Right.
And then especially like the way they just, we didn't learn anything about the daughter, but it was like there was supposed to be this big like coming of age kind of story arc for her. But you have no idea who she is, so you have no idea that if she's really like matured and come of it. It just didn't, like, nothing made any sense except for the wedding.
Yeah.
And if they had just stuck with that, I would have been like super happy. Mm-hmm. But instead, it was just, there was just so much. I would love to know why the sister just has no lines.
Yeah.
That like, it like bothered me by the end where I was like, is she like, did she
part
like
of the
piss
family?
people off? Like,
Right.
is she just a terrible actress? And they were just like, no, we can't let her say anything.
Well, yeah, it is interesting because they brought people back who literally were just like featured
props.
background in the first movie, like the lady who's with Ian Gomez, and there's another cousin and another aunt who were like just there for scenery in the first movie, and they're back now and have a few lines. But yeah, that sister, they're just not interested in what's going on with her character
At all.
And if anything, if you're having trouble with your daughter going off to college, maybe your sister, your older sister, who has way more kids than you and has already experienced it, would be a great person to talk to. I don't know.
But it's just because the movie revolves around family, and yet like that's the one aspect of like her and her brother are kind of close in the first one, and in the second one he's a big part. But like the sister, it's like as if she's not part of that family.
At all.
It's like everything is about family except for your sister, who you could give two fucks about.
So looking at her IMDb, she's not in a ton of stuff, but like I would have to imagine if her performances were not up to snuff, the things that have made it into the cut of this movie, I can't imagine that that's what it is.
Right.
I can't.
I don't know.
Oh, I was going to say, did you have any child star check-ins for
I
any
did.
of them?
Most of them were not interesting because this is only a couple of years ago, so a lot of these kids
Fair.
are just still kids doing some
Sure.
kid bit parts here and
makes
there.
sense.
But the main daughter, Paris, Elena, I can't read my own writing, Camporis. She we'll see her again. Spoilers next week. But she was in that show Jupiter Legacy. And then she was in the movie Men, Women, and Children, and then the show Sacred Lies, and then the one that stood out to me was a movie called Wifelike, in which she plays a robot lady programmed to replace the dead wife of Jonathan Rhys Meyers.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So,
That sounds great.
as a
That's a
Tudors
movie
fan,
I'd
I was
like
like,
to
maybe I'll
Yeah.
watch that.
Is there a sequel to that? I'd like to come back for that.
And then of all of the little boys, the one that was interesting is that this kid, Ethan Pugiotto, who played Theodore, which I think was one of the two main kids that was doing the whole Greek thing.
Yeah.
He is the voice of Charlie Brown in the modern Apple TV Plus era.
Wow.
So he's all
solid.
Charlie Brown, and he's DW in Arthur.
Okay.
He is a penguin of some sort in a show called Top Wing that has been on for many, many episodes. It
Never
might be a
heard of
Canadian thing. I'm not sure. And then he's also a PJ Mask. I don't think he's a main PJ Mask. He's like one of their side friends, but he's done like a dozen or so PJ Masks.
Right.
But yeah, he is Charlie Brown.
That's big.
I
was hoping you were gonna like drop that like one of them was in the Ninja Turtles film or something.
No, I'm not that I could find. So
There.
Yeah.
Charlie Brown's not too shabby.
yeah, and then obviously Alex Wolff, like we said,
Right.
is off scaring the living daylights out of us all.
Yep. Doing a great job with that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know. Well, yeah.
Sounds like we should just talk about Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen
I
it.
still haven't seen it either.
Go see it.
I need to see it.
Yeah, it is good.
I don't know. Rating system? Tyler?
Yeah. How many hats on a hat would you give?
Oh, I was going to say one thing about, I've been watching this when my child is still awake. Sorry, and we put this on, and like as soon as the movie started, she was like going around in front of the TV going, "Opa!"
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, how do you even remember
Remember
this?
that.
Like she watched the first one with us, kind
Okay.
of. I mean, like not like sitting and watching it, but like I just thought that was really funny that somehow that seeped through. Okay. Oh, and the license plate says "Opa."
Opa. Yeah.
Yes. Hat.
That's really funny.
Hat on a hat.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it 4 hats on a hat. It's bad. There's way too much. It's really overstuffed. But also, I saw that this has like a 27%. I was like, it's not that bad, you know. Some of the character moments, like I do think worked, and there were some sweet, like, cute family storylines in this movie. Still these people are embodying these characters in fun ways, and they're just it wasn't enough in certain places and just way too much in other aspects of it. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna go with a 4 as well.
Okay.
Because I too feel like I think for like the first half of this movie, I was like, this is god awful. I can't handle all these callbacks. But I feel like once they finally really like dive into the wedding aspect and things like pull a little bit like further focus onto the parents, Tula's parents. Like I said earlier, I do think there's like some like interesting and like very cute and sweet things that they say about marriage, and I enjoyed those moments where it got a little bit more into like the real emotion of like getting older and some of the parenting stuff as well. So that saved it from being like a total loss for me. And like, I don't know, the fact that it's not, it's a different, it's still like in the romantic comedy, but it's not totally like a meet cute kind of thing.
No, it's a family film.
It's a bit more of a family film, and like the focus on, the older marriage and everything, I thought was a good way to take it in this. So that's why I didn't totally hate it and gave it 4 hats on a hat on a hat on a hat.
I too am going to give it 4 hats on a hat. Yeah, I think that I think that it's not 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that it came out from Zootopia, and the same weekend as Zootopia and Batman v Superman.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why it got buried.
God, what a weekend.
Perhaps if one of the characters were named Martha. Yeah, I think that I like I think that romantic comedies have kind of died, and I like the idea of the romantic comedy that is rediscovering a relationship and not just falling in love. I think that that's a genre I'd love to see, and I think that I get why it's not a giant moneymaker nor profitable, but I think that there's a rich vein of stories to mine there that I would like to see, but not tacked on to 5 different movies. And like, it makes me wonder if this is just like she had scripts for 5 seasons of the TV show that got canceled, and they were just like, let's do it.
Yeah. What about you, John?
Boy. I'm going to go 3 hats on a hat.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
With an Opa. So that's kind of like
that's right.
half a hat is like an Opa. I just thought it was bad.
It's pretty bad.
I hear what you're saying, and I like that idea, but I feel like Steve Carell kind of made that movie. You did.
Yep.
So to me, I think I have no idea what this third one will be like, and I look forward to you three experiencing it.
You don't have to go see it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna live it through you. But yeah, that the first one I think is so sweet, and when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, like this still holds up. Like this is sweet and nice, and it's not hilarious, but it's like funny in the right moments. And so this one just like kind of clunked on me. And maybe if I hadn't watched the first one like a couple of days before, I wouldn't be so clear on like how well she did everything in the first.
Yeah. And
then how like poorly so many things were executed. And maybe we just blame Tom Hanks and Playtone for overproducing.
It's all his fault.
You know, I mean, him and Rita probably just overproduced the shit out of
That's
this.
right.
And
go collect some typewriters, Tom.
Yeah. Thank you. What an a-hole. But yeah, I wished it had been better.
Yeah.
Fair. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter how good the movie was because there's a third one coming out.
Yeah, what was the box office?
I'm going to tell you right now.
It was really bad.
Actually, okay, so here it was. Opening weekend, the film was projected to gross $15 million. And then it ending up at its opening weekend with $17.9 million. Third at the box office behind Batman v Superman and Zootopia. And so IMDb says the budget was estimated at $18 million. Okay. And it ended with a domestic haul of $60 million, pretty much, and then a worldwide take of 90. So seems like it probably still made a bunch of money. Actually,
yeah, enough for another one.
Gotta get those steps.
Yeah, enough for them to try it again with number 3 here, and this weekend.
Get Friday to the grease.
Get them to the Greece. That's the only. I saw the trailer once, and that's all I know. I know they're going to Greece.
You've been saving that one the whole time. Right? That was locked and loaded before he even got here. Before he got in his car, he had that ready.
Yeah.
Well played, sir. Well played. Tip of the hat on the hat on the hat on the hat.
All the hats are tipped.
All the hats are tipped.
Oh God.
So so as we've seen from the second one, there is in fact a wedding. So who do you guys think? Whose wedding is it going to be this time?
No,
you don't think it's
just
going to be
based
Paris?
on the trailer. I don't think it's Paris.
Okay.
I have seen the trailer.
Joey Fatone.
80.
No, Joey's married, right? He's got the 2 kids
in the movie. I don't think so.
Joey Fatone? I don't know.
Yeah, his are the 2 kids that know all about Greece.
No, that's Nikki.
I think that's Nikki's kids.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are Nikki's kids.
Because doesn't he put them in the car in the beginning?
No, that's Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
when
right.
he's like, it's
you're
so
right.
cold out.
You're right.
Yeah. I'm gonna say like maybe no one. I think they're gonna break it.
No one?
Oh, you think it's somebody like they're gonna bury somebody back in the home village?
Yeah, or they're just gonna get roped into attending like a wedding that's already happening or something. I don't know.
It's gonna be a secret.
I just can't see how any of those people would be getting married.
Here's my prediction. They're gonna have the end of this movie. It's gonna go through this whole thing, and at the end, they're gonna run into the characters from Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
it's gonna be like Transformers: Rise of the Beast.
Yes, I would die.
Yeah, crossover.
We need your help to figure out another father.
Actually, I take back what I said. I think it's just going to be Tula and Ian again in some way. Like, in some fakey way or some vow renewal way.
They already did it.
I think that's going to be the same thing again.
I know you said it wasn't Paris, but I'm still going to guess Paris.
You're going to guess Paris?
I think they're doing 3. I think it's
three weddings.
Big fat Greek weddings and a funeral.
Yeah.
I think Tula gets remarried, Paris gets married, Joey gets married, and then there's a funeral.
Yeah.
Boom.
Wow. Yeah, I don't even know who is. I've seen the trailer, and I know there's a couple people that I recognize now, after having rewatched them recently, but I don't know if everyone's back.
Yeah, well,
I don't
Michael
know if people died.
Constantine passed
He passed
away
away?
in
Okay,
real
yeah.
life and in the movie.
I can read the log line from IMDb if you would like. For
Sure.
3.
Yeah.
After traveling to Greece for a family reunion, a woman attempts to locate her deceased father's childhood friends.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm like, what's the wedding?
There's gonna be. There's
Yeah,
gotta be.
yeah, gotta be a
There's
wedding.
gotta be a
Okay.
wedding. How you can't call it? If it's gonna be a wedding, if there's no wedding, I'm giving it an automatic 0.
False advertising.
Camo's son.
I'm gonna
Fine
hire the
now of age, and
same
he's
lawyer
getting
that those guys hired for the Anna de Armas thing. And be
Yeah, I was just gonna. You beat me to it. I was like, was it Anna de Armas? Like, who was it? Yeah.
No, that
False
was
advertising.
dismissed.
False advertising.
I bought a ticket to see a wedding, and there's no wedding. Fuck this movie.
The Armas guy.
What movie was that again?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Of all things.
stupid.
Of all things.
Okay, we gotta end this. Oh my god, we're delirious.
All right. Well, you know what, John? Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
How was your first sequel?
It was great. It was. I mean, not the film, but this.
This experience.
This.
Yeah.
This right here
This
tonight.
sequel right here. Sequel right. Yeah, this sequel was fantastic.
So
10
good.
hats on it.
Do you have the John Legend song to play us out?
I wish. I wish.
Please.
Don't do it.
Please do it. Do it.
I don't have it. I don't have it.
Just hum it.
Just
Hum it.
Email us.
Should I do it?
sequelrights@gmail.com or find us on whatever Twitter is now, Instagram, Facebook.
I mean, if I can find
YouTube.
it, you know I'm ending the song, the film.
With Rita Wilson?
The Rita Wilson song, yeah.
At Sequel Rights.
Rate, review, subscribe, respond.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for listening. This has been a short one. We're already over halfway done.
Oh yeah, let us know what you want to hear next. Despite all, other than all the check-ins that we,
I will say, we'll talk about it next
Right.
week. But we, maybe you can look around and figure out what check-ins are coming up. But we got a couple, so pretty soon. Until then, again, there's only one thing left to say.
Bye-bye.
That's all we got. See you guys next week.
There's no weapon they can swing that will ever bring you harm. I will circle all around you and keep you safe within my arms. You will never feel abandoned. I will push the world aside. Know that I am yours forever, and you are even more mine. Even more, for all the ways I'm yours, you are even more mine. Take the hard times with the best, the bittersweet and all.